Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into my official college football week number 9 best bets here, where I go over my top 10 best bets for week number 9, beginning with number 10. It is North Carolina still ranked. They're going on the road at Georgia Tech, and I do like Georgia Tech plus the 11.5 at home in this game. North Carolina, to me, they've been a fraud since, before the season. They end up losing to Virginia, who was sitting at 1-5 before that victory. The North Carolina team is just Drake May and really nothing else. And it's a problem because people will immediately overinflate them because they do have Drake May. But I am going in on Georgia Tech to at least cover the 11.5. I do think they could win this game outright. You can see ESPN FPI giving UNC an 80% chance to win. I'll take Georgia Tech plus the 11.5. Moving on to number 9, it is Ohio State traveling to Madison to take on Wisconsin. So a few of these games are just going to be value plays based off of the cold front that we're getting. This is just kind of later in the season. We're going to be getting some colder temperatures. So the kickoff temperature here is around 41 degrees. And I also think it's important to understand Ohio State, they really are just kind of a defensive team. Sure, they're going to get a few explosive offensive plays in the pass game, but when you look at Ohio State's offense, they really don't do much elite. Like, they don't have a good running game. They have a very inconsistent passing game. And you're going to combine all of that with Kyle McCord going on the road in a hostile environment, against a team who's probably just going to blitz him constantly. It's going to be very cold. Again, the issue with Ohio State is not only do they have a young quarterback, but they also have an extreme lack of running game. I love the under 43.5 in this one. I think the Buckeyes get it done because Wisconsin has their own issues. Sure, they've got Braylon Allen, but we know how good this Ohio State defense is. Wisconsin also starting their backup QB. They have extremely limited skill position players. They're not going to be able to beat Ohio State in terms of in the passing game. So you're going to see a lot of, game control by Wisconsin. Very low scoring game. I expect Ohio State to win it, but these are just how the Ohio State games are going to go, especially in a spot like this where you're going on the road in a hostile environment. Win and get out. That's pretty much it. I would take Wisconsin plus the 14.5 in that one. Moving on to number 8, it is Washington traveling to Stanford. You do have Washington sitting minus 26.5, so I am going to hold the line, and I am going to go in on Washington. I understand last week was really bad. They barely won. They didn't score an offensive touchdown. Michael Penix Jr., he knows he needs a huge game if he wants to stay possibly in front in terms of the Heisman. You look at some of the sports books, he's already second behind J.J. McCarthy, but either way, I do like Washington against the Stanford team, who did make some noise a few weeks ago beating Colorado, and then they got absolutely throttled by UCLA. I will take Washington. Again, Washington, this is their year. They really need to, show and impose that they are an elite team. It's an important game, believe it or not, minus the 26.5. I think they cover in terms of that. Moving on to number 7, it's going to be Michigan State traveling to Minnesota. So this might be the coldest game of the day. We're looking right around 34 degrees, possibly with wind chills into the lower 20s. Minnesota, I'm guessing, will win this game, but yes, there's just a lot of value on the under 40.5. Last week we had that Iowa-Minnesota game. We all liked the under 31.5. It was basically free money. I kind of view this in a similar sense. I mean, do we really think Michigan State has that much of a better offense than Iowa? I guess it's okay. And then Michigan State's defense, I think, is going to be able to hold a horrible Minnesota offense down, especially using the elements, using the cold weather. We'll take the under 40.5, 17-10, Minnesota wins. They're actually okay this year. I mean, they have it's kind of like a typical PJ Fleck year where they end up winning like 7 or 8 games because they have an easy schedule. Either way, I'll take the under 40.5. Moving on to number 6, it is Tulane traveling to Rice. So I do like Rice to win this game outright, believe it or not. Rice has an extremely high upside offense with JT Daniels. Tulane, on the other hand, kind of some red flags last week. This is not the same Tulane team that we saw last year. I know a lot of people think they are. They beat USC. They had the crazy, run at the end of the season. They win the New Year's Six game, finish with a very impressive ranking with just the one loss. But in a game like this, Rice is at home. This is their Super Bowl for their year. Home game against a ranked team, 4 o'clock. I will take them in a crazy one. You guys know how it is. It's college football. We all know it's going to be a close game. They'll end up winning it, I think, plus the 11.5. And even you take a look at the FPI, the analytical stuff, 67% chance. A team with a 67% chance on the road, that should be about a 7-point spread. The fact that it's 11.5, that they say it's good value to bet on Rice plus the 11. Moving on to number 5, it is Liberty traveling to Western Kentucky. So this game is during the week. This might actually be tonight. Yeah, I think this game is tonight. So here we go. So we'll have to see if this ends up winning. It is Western Kentucky. I think they win this game outright against Liberty. So the thing with Liberty right now, they are undefeated. We all know they're not going to... It would be kind of funny if they finished the regular season undefeated just because of how horrible Conference USA is. But we know they're going to lose a game. And Western Kentucky, when you look at their team with Austin Reed and the receiver, Corey, they've got more talent than Liberty, straight up. I think, to me, the wrong team is favored, and it's crazy to say that considering Western Kentucky has 3 losses. But if you want a correction game, this is the correction game for you. There's no way Liberty is an undefeated team. And Western Kentucky, I think they're better than... they're sitting around 4-3 right now. I think they're better than that record. I'll take them to win this game outright. I've seen analytical models that have Western Kentucky winning this game by 5 to 6 points. They're at home, and this is just a spot where we can kind of take advantage of Vegas and the overall thought of Liberty starting off the season undefeated. They themselves have taken advantage of an extremely easy schedule. That's going to change with a tough game at Western Kentucky that I anticipate them losing. So yes, this is a Tuesday night game. So that's kind of how college football is now, guys. So yes, that's kind of how college football is now. There's just games on randomly every day, it feels like. Moving on to number 4, it is Houston traveling to Kansas State. And this is another one where we can kind of take advantage of the situation. So we're dealing with an 11 a.m. Central Time start. Believe it or not, right now, with the jet stream dipping right in the middle of the country, we have a massive cold front headed down, 37 degrees. The kickoff temperature here. Houston's not going to like that. And by the way, I do like Houston football because I believed in them against Texas, and they really rewarded me and almost won that game outright. But I'm saying, listen, 60 points is way too much. Both of these offenses are going to be grounded by the cold temperatures. Maybe we get some snow flurries. It's just a terrible mix. You've got a team like Houston who's used to playing in 75, 80-degree weather, going on the road. And Kansas State, by the way, probably one of the most underrated teams in the country, possibly a top 15 team. If you look at their analytics, you look at their game control overall, they are impressive. They've got a solid defense, and they're going to, I would say, win this game, not cover the 17-point spread because it is lofty. Or, who knows, they might cover the 17-point spread. I really don't have a bet on that, but I do have a bet on the under 60 based off of a combination of factors. Houston playing in a very cold climate kind of early in the season. A lot of people think, oh, it's Kansas in October. It's going to be 60 degrees. That's not the case. It's going to be very cold because of the cold front. And then you have a Kansas State team with a solid defense. All of that together. Also, it's 11 a.m., more early morning start. Well, it's not early morning, but for college football, 11 a.m. is pretty dang early. We will take the under in that one. Moving on to number 3, it is BYU sitting plus 17 at Texas. So yeah, the problem is, and this was the exact same thing that happened last year, the analytics love Texas so much, and obviously Vegas bases their lines off of analytics. It's like 17 points, Texas with the backup quarterback. I know he has a pedigree. I know he was a high recruit. I know he's gotten playing time, but still, with a backup quarterback against a BYU team that can score, there's just great value on BYU. And then, you look at the FPI, a 95% chance to win. That's just not, there's just something wrong with this. There's no way. And I'm not saying BYU is this good team. I know they have a losing record, but they can still score. And we just saw Texas with Quinn Ewers for most of that game really struggle against Houston, and even that was a game where they were up big early and Houston comes back. So I like BYU just based off of value alone because they have a good enough offense, I think, to keep this game close against the backup quarterback. Moving on to number 2, it is Colorado traveling to UCLA. So these last 2 ones, I'm keeping it short, I'm keeping it simple, I'm not overthinking it. Colorado has the worst total defense in college football. UCLA's offense looked so good last week. Colorado will score. We know they have a decent offense. 47-24, a very easy over 63.5. Guys, this is not a crazy over-under when it comes to college football. If it was 72 or 73, yes, that would be a crazy high over-under. 63 is 100% doable. It's just going to take scores by both teams. We might see a shootout where it's back and forth. Maybe Colorado covers in this game. I don't have a bet in terms of that, but I do like the over 63.5. And then this one was shocking to me. So this has an over-under of 56.5. Unless there's some crazy quarterback injury, I am shocked it is not at least into the 60s based off of how Oregon State tends to play. Very bad defense, very good offense. Arizona, very explosive, high-scoring team. They lost the game recently 50-42. I mean, I just love the over 56.5 in that one. You're looking at Oregon State sitting -3.5 right now. Don't have a bet on that, but I do like the over in terms of it being a little bit lower at 56.5. But either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.